Welcome to the Expert Speaker Podcast. We have Jim Ries from Offit Kurman Law Firm. He's not an attorney, he is the business development man. And we're here to talk about networking. Your network is your net worth. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, thank you, Majeed. Appreciate that. And they call me the legal BD guy. And you're right, I am not an attorney, but I've got 300 attorneys that work at Offit Kurman that I work with. So it's a great deal for me.
Jim, did I pronounce your last name right?
Reese, yep,
Reese. Okay, Ries, Reese.
correct.
Like Reese's Pieces, the candy, kind of.
Exactly.
Okay, so what I'm doing right here, Jim, excuse me. What I'm doing here, Jim, is I'm trying to make your name unforgettable to me. I have a strange name, Majeed Mogharreban. Most people have neither seen neither of those words, Majeed or Mogharreban. So I'm aware of, people's need to know how to pronounce, know how to remember. So Reese, Ries, Jim Reese. So let's talk about networking. The art of connecting and building the relationship and making the introductions. So where do we start? How did you become such a masterful networker?
So long story short, I worked in my family's business for 31 years. We closed in 2009. I was in career transition. And when you are in career transition, you need to meet a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, many of whom can hire you. So I met a ton of people, had a couple of jobs, learned how to network, learned how to communicate with people, learned how to write great emails, short to the point emails, learned how to ask for help. And I sent an email to Offit Kurman, to Ted Offit in January of 2013, just letting them know that I was in career transition, looking for an opportunity in management or business development. And he replied and said, "We actually may have a position for you." So I was hired at Offit Kurman, the law firm, in February of 2013 as part of a professional management team of 3 people. And we broke the firm down into practice groups. We managed those practice groups. We managed the attorneys in those groups, and everything was working great. 4 years into the job, management at the firm came to me and they said, "Jim, you're doing a fine job as a manager, but we've also noticed that everywhere we go, people know you, they like you, they trust you, and you've been able to bring new clients to the firm. That's not part of your management responsibility, but you're good at it. What if you did that full time?" And I was like, "Sign me up." So that was a day in my life that was a huge change. And that's a date I'll never forget. So my life changed for the better. I became director of business development at the firm. And my role is to attract new clients to the firm, recruit new attorneys to the firm, and also find law firm acquisition opportunities throughout the United States for the firm.
Wow, that's a lot on your plate. Very exciting. And your firm's clients are already doing over 1 million, up to 100 million.
Pretty
So
much.
I'm assuming that your law firm is not their first legal service purchase. So that
I
means they're
would,
leaving whoever they've been working with, and that can be a bit touchy.
yeah, what I find is most of the business owners I speak with are either underserved, overcharged, or ignored by their attorney. To your point, they have an attorney or they've used an attorney. Maybe there's not a lot of loyalty there, or maybe again, underserved, overcharged, or ignored. That won't happen with me and with Alfred Kerman.
So I'm curious about the sales cycle, if we could just kind of dissect that a little bit. So walk me through from the very first touch point. Where are you normally meeting people? I doubt it's cold calling. You're probably meeting people at conferences or events, and then you're having some sort of conversation like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your legal support right now? And what would make it a 10? And how can we have a conversation? So can you kind of walk me through that sales cycle?
Yeah, so what I learned when I first took this role 8.5 years ago was that the industry sales cycle was somewhere between 18 and 24 months.
Hmm.
And my my efforts were to shorten that. That's a long sales cycle. So I treat business development and networking like planting a vegetable garden. So you plant seeds, you cultivate, you water the seeds, right? And then you harvest. Then you pull the fruit or the vegetables off the plants. The same thing with networking. So what I do is I talk to business owners. I ask a lot of very good, curious questions because I was a prior business owner. Maybe my questions are better than others. I've had people tell me, wow, those are great questions. You ask really good questions. And people love to talk and they love to answer your questions. And, I do very little of the talking. I just ask a lot of great questions and learn about them. I like to say that you really can't sell legal services. So, what I try to do is position myself as someone that a business owner gets to know, like, and trust, position myself so when they need legal services, I want to be the guy they call, not 10 other people. And I consider myself the tip of the spear at Offit Kurman because I'm out in the market. I'm talking to business owners. I'm talking to centers of influence. You see me on LinkedIn all the time posting. I want to be top of mind because you and I get business. People know us, like us, and trust us. But if we're not top of mind, we're not going to get the business. So I really try to be top of mind through in-person networking, remote networking, and LinkedIn engagement. That's my three-legged stool.
Okay. In person, networking, remote networking, and LinkedIn. And what's your relationship like with the marketing departments? Can you go to them and say, "Hey, I want you to, run some ads or run some blast some emails?" And what's most effective to from the marketing to set you up for success?
We have a fabulous marketing department, fully staffed with marketing managers, director of marketing, social media, PR, writers. They're very supportive of my role. I use the social media manager, for example, helps me with a couple of posts every week, two of them, and I do the rest of them. They help me on events. I do a lot of events, especially panel discussions, always including at least one of our attorneys on the panel. And marketing does a great job of supporting those events. So yeah, the marketing, I couldn't do it without the marketing support at Offit Kurman for sure.
So panel speakers at a live in-person event.
Mhm.
And tell me about like how many events do you go to? How much is too much or too few? And which ones do you choose and why?
That's a great question, and people ask me that all the time. First and foremost, I tell people go to events where you think the people you want to meet are going to be in attendance. So if you want to meet business owners, go to the events that are going to draw business owners. If you get hired or if you do business with HR directors, go to events where they're going to be HR directors at the event. If you get hired by the CFO at a company, go to events where the CFOs are going to be. I just registered for an event that the firm is sponsoring. It's a CFO related event. So if you do business with CFOs, you should go to that event. So that's first and foremost. And what I've done really to get around that, and what I tell people is, if you're striking out going to events, have your own events and invite the people that you want to attend. I want to see my business owner, clients, and prospects. So I have my own events, again, these panel discussions or maybe a happy hour, and I invite the business owner, clients, and prospects to attend those events. That way I see them every month or every 2 months. So that's the secret to the networking. Um, I how many do I go to a week? I would say two a week. And I'm very, very strategic about the ones I go to. Yesterday, I had a 4 hour event that was 3 panels. I moderated all 3 panels for that event. I've already posted, they posted pictures of it. I'm getting lots of shout outs. I left that event and I went to a social event that was very close by. Again, people posted pictures. I'm getting shout outs for showing up at that event. It keeps me top of mind. So, about 2 events a week.
So moderating the panel gives you that stage time. People get to know who Jim is. They get to see your sense of humor, how you interact with people. You're building rapport with the crowd. You're getting tagged on social media. People start seeing Jim everywhere.
That's exactly right. And by the way, you don't know me that well, but you hit the nail on the head when you said sense of humor. Because
Hmm.
if I can't have fun, I don't want to do it. So
Hmm.
I think I do a pretty good job of moderating and facilitating these panel discussions. I've done a half a dozen, I would say, in the last couple of months. And I think the people that are running these events enjoy having me as the moderator because I do have fun and I do throw in some humor and I keep the conversation flowing. I'm pretty good at that. Plus, I can draw people to the event because I have really solid mailing list and I can get business owners, to populate those events.
Jim, where do you live?
I live in Baltimore.
Okay, so you're attending two events a week in your local area.
Yeah, I would say within an hour from where I live.
Yeah, gotcha. And what would get you on a plane and paying thousands of dollars to attend a conference? What is Jim's kind of filter requirement for saying this is worth 3 days in my calendar and the effort to get there?
Yeah, I love doing it. In fact, uh, Offit Kurman belongs to a global affiliation of law firms and accounting firms. The name of the association is GGI, Geneva Group International.
Yeah,
I'm going to Zurich next week
yeah,
because we're having the World Conference in Zurich. It's their 30th anniversary. And on Friday, I think a week from tomorrow, I will be moderating a panel in what we call the Business Development and Marketing Presentation Session a week from tomorrow. And it will be filled with about 50 or 60 managing partners of law firms and accounting firms.
Jim, you're gonna love this little coincidence. I gave a talk on international networking at GGI's global conference in 2013 in New Orleans.
Oh my goodness. That was right before we joined.
I think the founder's name is
Claudio. And
Claudio.
actually, that is so funny. And actually, I misspoke. We were members. I couldn't attend that. I think that's one of the few conferences I did not attend. But I think we joined in 2012 and we were members in 2013, but I was not there. And you're right.
Well,
Claudio,
we would have been old friends. We would have been old friends by now.
yeah, what a
Yeah.
coincidence. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. That's funny. And what we just did right there in the parlance of networking is I call it like finding our common connections. And when two people meet each other, they go like, okay, so who do you know and how do you know and what are your interests? And you go, oh, you're a baseball fan. I'm a baseball fan. Did you hear about this thing in the
Right.
baseball? And then finally we kind of deepens our relationship because we have something in common. I haven't heard the words GGI in such a long time, but that's great. So you're going to Zurich.
Yeah.
And Claudio's still running the show, huh?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yeah. I'll see him next week.
That's good news. All right. So what are some of your tips for uh I'm interested in the in-person with the handshakes and the business cards and the swapping contact information. And I'm also really interested in the digital stuff because Jim, I can go into a room. I love networking events. I love conferences because I like meeting people. I'm really curious and I have no problem with that. I actually the reaching out on LinkedIn and the following up online, that's where it's not as fun. So I'd love to know what you're doing and what have you found effective with online networking?
Online networking.
Yeah.
Okay, like remote networking groups.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm a member of a couple of remote networking groups. They're typically chapters that are geographically, dispersed, and that meet either once or twice a month remotely via Zoom. And I think, to me, it's a very efficient and effective way to network with people. Generally, you have at that kind of a meeting, it's an hour or an hour and a half with, you got the Hollywood squares, you might have anywhere from 15 to 25 people on the screen. Everyone gets to introduce themselves. That's huge. Um, there are typically breakout rooms because people like breakout rooms, and that gives you an opportunity to be with maybe one-on-one or amongst 3 or 4 people in a breakout room. It allows you to get to know those people better.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, and most of the time with these organizations, at the end of the session, they email all of the attendees a list of attendees, their names, their emails, and their LinkedIn profiles.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to be writing stuff down like, oh, this guy Majeed, I met him, you know, where you and I met. I did the same thing, and I
Yeah.
connect with you via LinkedIn, and I will connect with everyone on LinkedIn and just say, with always with a personal message. Great to meet you at the XYZ Zoom meeting. Love to connect here on LinkedIn.
Okay. So join a group, attend the meetings, connect with the attendees.
Yes, and number four, follow up with those that seem to be potential centers of influence for you, and follow up and schedule at least a 30-minute Zoom call with them to get to know them better. Generally, these groups, you might have people from all over the country or all over the world, like in our case. So it may not make sense to meet them in person.
Yeah.
So a 30-minute Zoom call, I think, is a fine way to get to know someone better and see if there are indeed opportunities to make introductions for each other and to support each other's growth.
Okay. So let's dive into the making introductions and supporting each other's growth. Let's assume that most of the people you meet at these networking events are not going to hire you because they're not a fit or they don't have the need. And yet you're still meeting and you're looking for ways to create value like introductions and helping each other. So, firstly, how do you position the follow-up meeting? You said like let's meet to see how we can help each other
Hmm.
because you're a pro. You're not going to say let's meet so I can pitch you and tell you, why 100 reasons why you should hire us.
Never.
Um, so do you find have you found any ways of increasing the likelihood of them saying yes to the follow-up meeting as opposed to no thanks, I'm busy. I don't see the value in us meeting. Um, so what have you found that works well to get the follow-up meeting and what have you found that works well to create as much value as you can in 30 minutes?
It would start with the LinkedIn connection and then a message via LinkedIn that might say something like, thank you for connecting. Um, it seems like we might be able to support each other's growth. If you would like to have would you like to schedule a 30-minute Zoom call sometime in the next few weeks? If not, that's fine. Just let me know. And then generally, like 95% of the time, it's like, yeah, let's grab a 30-minute Zoom call. And then I'm old school, and I did it this morning, and I said, great, are you available on whatever date, and time? Um, Please respond via email to, and I give my email address because there's so much to manage between Teams communications, LinkedIn communications,
Yeah.
email communications, text communications. Those are four for me, and I'm old school. You probably have at least two more, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, like, right. Then you got Slack. Then you got um, what's it called? Yeah, the international one. WhatsApp, right?
So you
I
prefer to propose a specific time as opposed to here's my link, find a time that works for you.
I don't have a calendar link. I love when other people do. It really makes my life easy, but for various reasons, that's probably my baggage. I don't have a calendar link. I find it very difficult to conceive that that would work for me, but that's a whole nother conversation. But by the way, I
Yeah.
will give you a date and time.
Yeah.
Why leave it up? Why leave it out there somewhere in the atmosphere? Like, let's figure out a time. I'm going to give you
Yeah.
a date and time, and it makes it easier for you. You look at
I
your
I
calendar,
I
it's
respect that.
either it's either
I
yes or
don't like
no.
it. I don't like it when someone says we should meet or let's meet sometime.
Right. What does
You
that
know.
mean? Why
Yeah.
would you let it dangle there?
And so, Jim, when you propose a specific time, like let's say you say, are you available this Friday, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern? Do you then go and block that time in your calendar?
Man, you must have insight into everything I do. That's exactly what I do. When I send that message, it goes on my calendar with the name and the time. So I'm already saving that. I'm holding that. And by the
Perfect.
way, when I start looking down the road at my calendar, and I'm looking into the first week in November right now, and it's blue because that means they haven't confirmed yet, I'll reach back out and resend the email and say, hey, just as a follow-up, are you
Yep.
available on
Uh-huh.
November 5th at 9 a.m. Eastern time?
I
So,
like that. Actually, I like that a lot because if I were to send you, Jim, a message and say, "Hey, Jim, would you like to meet for 30 minutes? Here's my calendar link." There's no note taken anywhere to hold that. But if I propose Friday at 10 o'clock, 30 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and just book the meeting, maybe with a little question mark on my
and
calendar. And
yeah.
that acts as my follow-up to you, even if we don't meet.
Exactly. And so the default on my Outlook calendar, the default color is blue. So anything that's blue on my calendar has not yet been confirmed. If it's green, if it's pink, if it's blue, that means something else. Those are confirmed. But if it's navy blue, if it's light
Got
blue,
it.
that's the default color. Nothing is confirmed yet. So it's easy for me at a glance to see a couple weeks out. Oh, this person never confirmed. I resend the email.
Got it. Okay, now I'd love to know what Jim does in those 30 minutes. My first question is it a Zoom call or is it a phone call?
Zoom call. First
Okay.
call is always a Zoom call. The only phone calls I do is with people that I've known for years. I don't need to see their face. I don't need to see their body language. Um, you know, uh, but otherwise it's a Zoom call.
Okay. And what's your process? What's your structure? Or are you just like, so tell me about you?
I like to jump in and ask a lot of questions. First of all, I've learned this line from someone. It's not my line, but I try to practice what we call "show me you know me." So I'm going to jump online with you, and the first thing I'm going to say is, "Oh, I see. You're living so and so. Yeah, we went there a couple years ago. We love the food. Da da da. Here's where we stayed." So somehow make a connection, and then I like to be the first one to ask the questions, and I usually am. And I'm 25 minutes through the 30-minute meeting, the other person frequently says, "Hey Jim, I've been doing all the talking. Tell me a little bit about you and Offit Kurman." That gives me permission to tell them all about me and Offit Kurman. Because I'm not going to start and say, glad we could meet here. Let me tell you about me and Offit Kurman. I
Yeah.
don't do that. But once you give me permission, then it's natural. And I only need 5 minutes, maybe even less, because I'm
Yeah.
not selling. I'm not selling. I'm just providing information. This is what we do. Here's how many attorneys we have. Here's where our offices are, and here's an idea of what our practice groups look like. And we are a one-stop shop for legal services. That's it.
Okay. So the opening is hey Jim, how's the weather down in Maryland? We're just finding our groove.
oftentimes, people like you provide a background there. I assume you're in your home, and
Yeah.
oftentimes people will have a photo or a painting or a
Yeah.
piece of furniture or a window looking out to, beautiful sunshine or something.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's really
Yeah.
easy.
There's something like this in door-to-door sales training where they say like find two things on the outside of the house to comment when they open the door. Hey, that's a beautiful bush you got there.
Right.
Very good. Okay. So then what happens at the end of the meeting and what is your system for follow-up?
End of the meeting can go several different ways. If there seems to be strong interest on from both sides, maybe there's an introduction that's made. Maybe each person is making introductions for each other. Maybe there's a follow-up meeting. If it's local, maybe it's inviting them to a local event. Maybe it's inviting them to participate in a local event. Maybe it's inviting them to partner in an event. Um, so the outcome can be many different things. As far as follow up, um, admittedly, I'm not perfect with it, but I will ask if I can add you to my mailing list, and you would receive my newsletter once a month. And if you're local, you'll receive invitations to events. So by doing that, sort of allows me to see you on a regular basis if you attend the events. If not, a lot of it's up here, and I'll reach out to people, and and for just a touch base type of thing. I
Yeah.
don't have I do have a couple of contacts that from their side they want to meet with me quarterly, and before we hang up from the Zoom call, they're like, all right, Jim, let's meet in 3 more months. And that's great. That gives you a regular cadence. I do appreciate that. I don't do that, but others do, and I think it's a really good idea. I think I do a really good job of staying in front of people, because again, they may not see me they may not attend an event next month, but they'll see me on LinkedIn. And if they're not on LinkedIn, they'll see me on a remote event, right? So between in-person events, remote events, and LinkedIn, they're going to see me or see my name pretty much every month, if not every week.
Jim, what are three words that you want people to describe you as they think about you?
Generous is the first that I would think about. I mean, giving would be pretty much the same. Trustworthy and loyal.
Very good. Yeah. Um, I like this question. It's kind of like a personal brand question.
Hmm.
That's your personal brand. Generous, trustworthy, and loyal. What are your thoughts on personal brand in the age of social media and in the age of, being able to be connected to so many people and wanting to be able to influence their thoughts and feelings about how they see you? How do you think about personal brand or reputation? I think personal brand and reputation are kind of the same thing.
I think huge. I think it's the foundation of what leads to success for us, or lack of success. I did I always forget what it's called, a survey that ends up in a cloud, a word cloud or something like that. I forget.
Yeah.
So I asked like 50 people, when you think of me, what word comes to mind? And I made a word cloud out of it. And I mean, that was a couple years ago, but generous was right there on top. That was the biggest
Wow.
one.
That's a good
So,
exercise.
yeah, so I think that's a good exercise to do. And you don't just send it to your best friends, you just send it to sort of 50 random people. Um, when we talk about personal branding, I have to point out, and you've asked me a lot about my Zoom calls, the way my Zoom calls start. Most of my Zoom call starts with, we get on the screen, and the first thing you say is, Jim, what's with the hat? Like, is
Mm.
that your hair? I saw your LinkedIn profile and you're bald. So what's with the hat? And I go, here's what's with the hat. This is the hat, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And people say, oh, yeah, I've seen something like that. Or, I was wondering about it. And they'll say, what's the story behind the hat? And again, they've given me permission to now tell them the story. And the story is really simple. 5.5 years ago, when COVID hit us, I was scheduled for my first ever Zoom call, and I didn't know what to expect, but I like to have fun. So I grabbed this hat out of a hat bin next to my desk and I put it on and I said to myself, I'm just going to let it go and have fun. And people are looking at me like, what does he have on his head? I have worn this hat for every single Zoom, Teams, whatever virtual call for 5.5 years.
Wow.
Every single, I don't care if it's with firm management, every single call I've worn this hat. And that has branded me. I am the guy with the hat. And then when I go to in person events, people may not recognize me and I'll get introduced to them. And they're like, wait a minute, I know you, but I don't recognize you without the hat. So this hat has branded me. It's what I call accidental and free branding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a great icebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Great icebreaker, both in person when I don't have the hat on and remotely like this when I do have the hat on. It's a topic of conversation and it's a great icebreaker when I first sit down with somebody remotely.
That's funny. I was thinking about the hat. I didn't mention it. And I didn't think that that was not your hair. So now I'll never forget. Are you a suit and tie guy when you're at events?
Interesting. When I started working at the law firm, I realized that attorneys wore suits and a dress shirt and no tie. And most of them had a tie on their coat hook in their office. So if they had to go to see a client or go in front of a judge in court, they'd put the tie on. And my wife was like, so I started dressing that way, a suit, nice dress shirt, no tie. She's like, that looks silly. Why aren't you wearing a tie? I'm like, this is how the attorneys do it, and it works for me. So, for example, yesterday I had two events. I wore a nice suit, dress shirt, no tie. So I don't wear a tie too often. I also have some nice sport coats that I wear. So I like to look very professional when I'm out there. But the tie only comes on like with many people for weddings and funerals, sadly, and maybe events like GGI, their events. I'm wearing a tie on next Thursday night. That'll be a tie event and a tux next Saturday. So I'll take that with me to Zurich also.
That's fun.
Yeah.
How about contact management? I've had my box of business cards that I pull out once a year and throw away the ones I can't remember. And I've had my spreadsheets and I've had my contacts in my iPhone, and I've been looking for the holy grail of the perfect contact manager to keep everything right in the one place. You strike me as organized man, but not overly reliant on magical technology. So, what is your contact management system?
I would say your assessment is point on. First of all, I don't have a CRM. Like I don't faint, but I don't have a CRM. Couple things. One, if you've got a box of business cards, that's unfortunate because you need to come back from your events where you collect business cards. And that's another thing I suggest people if they're going to an event, their expectation should be to have three good deep conversations and walk away with three good business cards, not 30 but three. That way it's not overwhelming. Get home, get to your desk, connect with each one of them on LinkedIn immediately with a personal message. Nice to meet you at the event. Let's connect here on LinkedIn. And put them in your Outlook. For me, it's Outlook. I put them in my Outlook immediately. I add them to my mailing list immediately. And I link in with them. So I
So,
do
you're
it the same.
creating a new contact
Yes.
in Outlook,
New contact on
and
Outlook.
you're going
By
to
the way,
your newsletter and you're entering their name and email.
correct. By the way, Outlook has a notes section. So you asked me when we first came on where we met, and I told you exactly what event and what the date was because it's in my Outlook notes. I
Ah,
know where I met you and what date it was. So if you were introduced to me, I would know, I would be able to tell you who introduced us. So I keep good notes there, no CRM, excellent follow up within 24 hours, no more. Um, and adding to my mailing list. And I will tell you something about a mailing list that I did started, when I started this, the BD role 8 years ago. I took my contacts and I split them up into clients, prospects, referral sources, and other. So other would be family members and friends from college and high school, right?
Yeah.
Referral sources would be people like you and centers of influence.
Yeah.
Prospects are business owners who have not hired us yet, and clients are business owners who have hired us. So
Yeah.
I have a spreadsheet, and when I every week I fill that out with the meetings that I had and the people that I met, including what I call the tag, referral, client, prospect. And I
Right.
send that to my marketing folks, and they populate the mailing list. So they're adding people to the mailing list every single week when I send them the spreadsheet. So I keep it up to date. And by the way, I also get records of when I send invitations and newsletters out. If I get bounced emails, I go and I research and I see, oh, they're not there anymore. Here's their updated email. And I send that to my marketing folks also, and they update. It's in MailChimp. They update MailChimp. So
Very
my
good.
mailing lists are very accurate. I get very few bounces. I get some unsubscribes, and it's just accurate. It's very accurate, and my open rate is probably averages 41 or 42% open rate, which is really good.
That's very good. I'm going to point out one thing that you mentioned that I think is really important, and that is the speed at which you follow up. When you were telling the story, you said, I come home from the networking event and I go straight to my computer and send the LinkedIn and 24 hours max. And I think that's such an important way to set the tone of the speed of the relationship because it takes just as long to write an email 2 weeks later. But those emails start with, sorry, it took me 2 weeks to follow up with you.
Right.
I've been so busy, blah, blah, blah. And, I meet a lot of people at networking, and almost nobody um, does the follow through, and almost nobody does the follow through quickly. So I think that's pro level advice.
Yeah, that's where most of us fail. It's with the follow-up. We prepare well for an event. We're great at the event, great conversationalists. We get some business cards, we come home and we got a box like you. And I can tell you, after working with attorneys for 4 years in management, they all have a drawer full of business cards. It does you no good to have them in a
Yeah.
drawer.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to put them in my Outlook and connect on LinkedIn, and then I throw the business card away. They're in my trash can right here. I brought 3 home last night.
Yeah.
I've already connected. They're already in my Outlook. They're already, on my spreadsheet to add to my mailing list.
Good. Jim, we're coming to the top of the hour, and I'm guessing you might have a call coming up. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay, so I'll wrap it up real fast. So Jim, you are the one-stop shop for business owners who need legal advice, who are being overcharged and underserved. So, folks, if you're a business owner, reach out to Jim because if he doesn't have a legal solution for you, he probably has a contact or two to connect you with. So, it's always good to know who the most connected people are. Jim, generous, loyal, and trustworthy. And my screen just froze. What happened? Did I lose Jim? Oops. Well, it appears to be still streaming. Oh, I must have lost Jim. That's okay. We were wrapping up. Thank you, Jim. Jim Ries.